behind, and we're one of many companies quite behind, several weeks behind.
As her subcontractors are faced with this daily question with ICE in the community.
Are you comfortable going to work?
The answer, increasingly, is no, as more are detained at or on their way to work.
How do I guarantee you that just because you've done things through due process, that if you show up to work today, nothing's going to happen to you?
Yeah, you can't.
We can't.
And while her customers are understanding, work has nearly stopped. Cash flow doesn't add up. And she fears after 15 years in business, this will be her last.
We don't have very many crews working at all right now, but the ones that we do are taking risk. When it happens to someone you know and care about, it means something different. But I know I'm far from the only one in the situation that I'm in. I'm genuinely very afraid of what's going to happen.
I assume building will slow, costs for these services will go up. Do you think that's fair to say?
Yes. What I'm hopeful for is that we can all come together and work together to make this process safer and more efficient. How do we protect the people that we need to protect? And it's just not that simple.
The Dow hit 50,000 and a florist who's been open for 45 years just had our worst Valentine's Day ever. They're going to tell you the economy is thriving. They're going to point at charts, at numbers, at indexes that the average person has never once checked while buying groceries. But here's what they won't show you. A construction business owner in tears because her crew is too afraid to show up at work. Not because they quit, because they are scared of being detained on the way to job site. You want to talk about a booming economy? Tell that to the people watching their lives who are collapsing in real time. The stock market is not the economy. It never was. And somebody chose for you to believe it was. Now, I want you guys to stay with me because by the end of this video, you'll never let them gaslight you with a chart again. Watch this clip.
Rather than go after them and hope that everybody's happy that the Dow hit 50,000. Are you out of your mind? I've been pretty quiet about Pam Bondi in front of Congress the other day talking about how the Dow's up to 50,000. Nobody gives a because what you should be talking about is how you are going to investigate and prosecute any that were running around on Epstein Island that you're affiliated with. But we didn't talk about that, did we? Oh, and what's the excuse? What was the excuse? Oh, if we prosecute everybody, the whole system would go down. Well, you know what that sounds like? You know what that sounds like? That sounds like how Trump ran his campaign. Let's drain the swamp. Doesn't that sound a lot like draining the swamp? It actually is drain the swamp served up to you on a silver platter. But you're not going to take it, are you? You're going to protect. You're going to protect.
Yeah.
Rather than go after them and hope that everybody's happy that the Dow hit 50,000. Are you out of your mind? I guess the whole drain the swamp campaign promise was another lie, huh? Man, the lies are stacking up fast. I've never seen so many lies appear in, what, a year? It's only been a year. Look at all the lies.
None of them ask Merrick Garland over the last 4 years one word about Jeffrey Epstein. How ironic is that? You know why? Because Donald Trump, the Dow right now is over, the Dow is over $50,000. I don't know why you're laughing. You're a great stock trader, as I hear, Raskin. The Dow is over 50,000 right now. The S&P at almost 7,000. And the NASDAQ smashing records. Americans' 401ks and retirement savings are booming. That's what we should be talking about. We should be talking about making Americans safe. We should be talking about, what does a Dow have to do with anything? That's what they just asked. Are you kidding?
It is Valentine's Day, the single biggest holiday of the year for florists across America. A woman who has been selling flowers for 45 years, longer than some of you have been alive, opens a shop, and at the end of the day, she looked the worst sales she has ever recorded in 4.5 decades. She doesn't know if it's the economy or the calendar, but she knows something is wrong. Meanwhile, On the news, Dow Jones 50,000, S&P near 7,000, Nasdaq at records high. Officials on television smiling, pointing at graphs saying, look how well we're doing. Who is we? Now, here's the thing they never teach you, by the way. Not in school, not in civics class, definitely not in the communities a lot of us come from. The stock market and the economy are not the same thing. One is a casino for people who already have money. The other is the reality where the rest of us actually live. And right now, those two realities have never been farther apart. Food prices rose 2.3% in 2024. They are projected to raise nearly 3% in 2025. Yes, that's slower than 9% spike during the pandemic. But slower rising prices are not falling prices. You're still paying more every single week on the checkout line with money that is not stretching the way it used to. But somebody wants you to look at the Dow Jones instead of your receipt. So let us talk about what's actually happening on the ground, because that's where the diaspora community lives. We don't live in hedge funds. We live in small businesses. We live in the trades. We live in the service industry. And right now, that war is being dismantled from multiple directions simultaneously. Immigration enforcement has intensified to a point where construction businesses that have been operating for 15 years are watching their entire workforce disappear. Not because people left, because subcontractors are genuinely afraid to drive to a job site. They're scared of being picked up by ICE on the way to work. So they stay home, and when the crew doesn't show up, the job doesn't get done. And when the job doesn't get done, cash flow collapses. And when cash flow collapses, a business that survived a pandemic, survived 2008, survived everything, dies. That is not a booming economy. That is a slow motion disaster being narrated over stock market ticker music. And then there are the tariffs. The Supreme Court ruled against ruled certain tariffs illegally. The economy that police was supposed to be the backbone of the administration's financial strategy has been struck down as unconstitutional. Business owners have planned around those policies and now left stranded in the wreckage of a plan that was never legally sound to begin with. And I want to speak directly to the diaspora community for a second, because we have a particular relationship with this kind of economic confusion. You know, a lot of us came from countries where the government told you everything was fine while things fell apart. We've seen governments point at infrastructure projects and GDP numbers while people stood in lines for bread. We know what it looks like when the official story and the street level story are completely different. So when someone points at the Dow Jones and tells you America is thriving, something in our cultural memory should be going off, because we have seen this movie. We know how it ends. Our parents build small businesses here. Our cousins do the remodeling and the construction and the landscaping. Our aunties run the flower shops and the restaurants and the catering companies. These are not abstract statistics to us. These are our people, and our people are struggling while a ticker on screen says everything is fine. There is something particularly painful about the Epstein files moment in all of this. Hear me out, because it connects. People who supported this administration did so in part because they were promised accountability. They were promised the swamp will be drained. They were promised transparency. They were promised the Epstein files, full disclosure, no reductions. The whole truth. What they got were heavily redacted documents. And when supporters started asking questions, what did officials point to? Stock market, look at the Dow, look at your 401k. That's not accountability, that's a magic trick. Look over here at the shiny number while we call to bury the thing we promised you. And the heartbreaking part, some people are still looking at the shiny number. So what are we going to do with this? First up, stop letting them define the economy for you, for you using metrics that don't touch your life. Your grocery bill is data, your rent is data, your cousin's construction business shutting down is data, that florist was detained for 5 years is data. Number two, understand that economic pain being inflicted on immigrant communities is not a side effect, it is a feature. A workforce that is too afraid to show up can be blamed for its own erasure. a small business owner who can survive without that workforce gets added to the statistics quietly with no headline. Number 3, demand accountability for the promises that were made. The Epstein files, the tariff strategy, the train the swamp agenda, hold every single one of those to the same standard you'd hold any government accountable to. The stock market hitting 50,000 means something to someone, but it does not mean your life is better. And no chart, no index, no ticker on a screen should ever convince you that your lived reality is wrong. You are not imagining it. The numbers on TV and the numbers in your bank account are telling two completely different stories, and it is time we started talking about which one is actually true. The Tariq critic here. Thank you for watching. I hope to see you in my next video.